excellence is a process, it's a journey, it's a discovery, and perfectionism kind of just stops everything cold in its tracks. Hi, welcome to Docworking, the Whole Physician Podcast. My name is Gabriella Dennery MD, life coach at Docworking.
And I'm Jill Farmer, one of the other life coaches at Docworking, and along with Gabriella, one of the co-hosts of Docworking, the Whole Physician Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about the difference between excellence and perfectionism. So, Gabriella, what do you see as the differences between excellence and perfectionism?
Oh, I think there's really many, but let's talk about one fundamental difference between excellence and perfectionism. Because can you be excellent and not be perfect? The answer is an absolute yes, and this is why. Perfectionism tends to focus on results, right? Did I see enough patients? Did I prescribe the exact right medication for every single one of them? I'm thinking of things that I would experience as a primary care doc. What is the boss going to think of me? What is the administrator going to think of me? Et cetera, et cetera. So it's externally driven, and it's also based on criteria that, frankly, are they realistic? Often they're not. Excellence, on the other hand, has to do not with end result, but it has to do with a process. Have I done the best I could? Yes, absolutely. Am I learning something new? Am I innovating? Am I looking at different ideas? Am I asking questions? Am I opening myself up to possibility? Now, that's being in excellence. Excellence is very much a freeing experience as opposed to perfectionism, which tends to make things really, really, really small, because then it touches into, well, I'm not perfect, I'm not good enough. It touches into judgments and old beliefs. And so we want to get out of that. And that's the difference for me between excellence and perfection. I can honestly say that I'm excellent because not only did I do the best I could to the best of my ability and knowledge, but I opened myself up to learning something new. That's excellence.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm perfect, then I figure I have to try and figure it all out by myself, and that never works out terribly well. What do you think, Jill? The difference between excellence and perfectionism?
Oh, you just hit the nail on the head. And another way I think to add to that is perfectionism is constricting, right? It's kind of fear-based. I'm worried just in case I better, versus a pursuit of excellence, which is full of possibility. And there's a lot more motivation and flow and the ability to grow to me when we're looking at possibility as opposed to constriction, which I think is directly correlated to perfectionism in my own life. And I think to even just go back to the dictionary definitions is interesting, right? Perfection is the condition, state, or quality of being free from flaws or defects. So to me, that means it's the condition of being inhuman, right? Because we as humans innately have some flaws and defects. That's what makes us interesting. Whereas excellence is the quality of being outstanding or extremely good, right? It's a quality of moving forward. And so I just like that reshaping or reframing the way we think about those things in our head, I think just helps us and helps me certainly. When I'm looking for excellence, I'm like, what can I do to enhance this, to make it better, to be in deeper service? And there's just a motivation there versus how do I make this perfect? I'm just scanning the horizon for fear of threats. And that's just never where I think I shine. So, what do you think about that? Thinking about the definitions, going back to the dictionary on that.
Yeah, I tell you, the dictionary is my best friend. Sometimes we can just kind of group definitions or words together thinking that they're exactly the same thing, and they're not. I want to just piggyback on what you just said, Jill, that perfectionism really is about, part of it is earning approval. I'm trying to get somebody's stamp of approval. And if I get that stamp of approval, then I'm a good person and I've done right. Excellence is more, it doesn't look for a stamp of approval, either internal or external. Really, it's about, as you said, how can I improve? How can I do better? So one example for me is I'm a musician and I compose music and I love that process. And so whenever I look for perfectionist, oh, is this the right note? Then of course I never finish a piece. But if I look at the process, I did the best I could with what I have and what I know. 5 years later, I may look at the same piece knowing, okay, I've learned a few things since then. And now, if I were to redo the piece, I would add a few other things or, expand the dimension or ask such and such colleague or producer for their input. Something I didn't know 5 years ago. But to be happy with the result that it was in the moment, I think that too is part of excellence as opposed to it's not good enough. Because if it's not good enough, I'll constantly be chasing for what is and based on whose criteria. So if I stop the chase and say, you know what, right now it's good because this is what I can do and I'm happy with it. And then later on, when I've learned a few more things, it expands. Of course, it's not just music, it's just about anything. If I'm cooking a meal, then yeah, it's as good as it's going to get right here in the moment. And I'm happy with it, and I'm eating well, and I'm feeling satisfied. If I decide to cook the same recipe next time, I say, oh, how can I improve this? How can I make it better? And then go there. So that excellence is a process, it's a journey, it's a discovery, and perfectionism kind of just stops everything cold in its tracks. So we want to be in that discovery mode. Thank you for joining us for this great content with more to come after this important message from Board Vitals.
Preparing for your board exam or looking for a quick and convenient way to earn CME? Study for your board exam and fulfill your CME requirements with Board Vitals. Board Vitals is the leading online board review platform with question banks and CME activities available in more than 50 medical and healthcare specialties. Board Vitals questions are loaded with detailed explanations, reference materials, and evidence-based rationales. And now you can take your studying on the go with Board Vitals mobile app. People who use Board Vitals question banks have a higher pass rate by 9% from the national average and an 18% reduction in study time. Board Vitals has helped more than 400,000 practitioners pass their board exams. They offer a free trial for all their question banks, and they offer a 100% pass guarantee when you sign up for a subscription of 3 months or more. Sign up today and get a special discount for being part of the Docworking community by using the code Docworking10. That's DOCWORKING and the number 10. That's a 10% discount code just for being part of our community with the discount code Docworking10 for boardvitals.com. That's BOARDVITALS.com.
I think that's all just beautifully said. And it reminds me of a situation I had with a really fun physician client a few years ago, actually a surgeon. And, he was kind of beating himself up for perfectionism and said, everybody has always said you're too much of a perfectionist. And it was having some consequences on health, relationships, some of the things that perfectionism does because it creates this constriction and fear. And we make it difficult for ourselves when we're striving for perfection in all areas. And what he realized in our conversation that he was thinking that the opposite of perfectionism or being perfect was failure. And when you think about excellence as being an alternative to perfectionism, people a lot of times are afraid to give up perfectionism because we think that means don't care about anything, just let it go to hell. Who cares, right? We think it just means you're not caring or you're not performing or you're not excelling. And it's not that. I know as a coach, Gabriella and I both want all of you to experience the joy and the meaning of growth and what comes and the mastery of being in the process of experiencing that excellence that can come from all the hard work that you put into and the mastery of the experience you have. It's not like we're saying don't be perfectionists, be failures. But I think sometimes we have that imprint in our brains. And I've heard it in my physician clients. I certainly have it in my own brain at times. And I think it's important to remember that as well.
And how about reframing what failure means? Because, when we take risks, which is what excellence is, you're expanding your territory, you're going into unknowns, there's a chance of failure. Is it a bad thing, Jill? How do we reframe this whole notion of failure, especially for physicians?
Yeah, that's important. And I've said this before here. Some of the most successful people in the world, they credit their ability to move through failure and to use failure as data with their success. Richard Branson is somebody who very famously welcomes failure because he's like, failure is data. Failure is where we make the shift to understand what didn't work, which often is really important in getting us to what will work. And I think that's important. I once had an academic physician tell me, it's like in research, often it's the failed hypothesis that leads to the biggest breakthrough. And so to remember that, to keep a broad enough lens to remember that, it can help us take those things that are what I often call, and what we talk about here, as plot twists or mistakes or failures, as information that can actually be an ingredient of excellence.
Absolutely. Agreed 100%. So that means that the physician who said, well, if it's not perfect, then it's a failure, we should say, yeah, you got it. That's exactly right. Let's celebrate that because that means doors are open.
Excellent ideas. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and being part of this conversation, as always, Gabriella. And thanks to all of you for joining in. We love having you here. Until next time, this is Docworking, the Whole Physician Podcast. We have something really exciting at Docworking that we want to tell you about. It's called the Docworking Thrive Subscription Membership. And it's almost a little bit like burnout insurance. If you don't need that, you just want another way to know how to thrive, this is it. This subscription includes weekly video tips delivered straight to your inbox, exciting small monthly group coaching sessions where you actually have access to be coached by one of our top coaches at Docworking. You get access to virtual courses, including STAT, quick wins to get your life back, a leadership course called A New Era of Physician Leadership, and another course called Communication for the Win. All of these courses are delivered virtually, so you can do it on your own time and with your own schedule. All of these different features come to you as part of the subscription. It's an incredible value. We are so excited for this community. And you also will have access to 24/7 private Thrive Physician Facebook community. Don't wait. Go right now to docworking.com to find out how you can sign up for the Docworking Thrive subscription membership. Remember, if you're learning anything at all from these podcasts, we need you to do just one tiny thing for us. Like, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating. That really helps us be able to continue to bring this awesome information to you.
Hello, and thank you for listening. This is Amanda Taryn. I'm the producer of the Docworking podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like and subscribe. We would also love it if you checked out our website, which is docworking.com. And you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. On Instagram, we are Docworking1, and that is with the number 1. When you check us out on social, please let us know what you would like to hear on the podcast. Your feedback really means a lot to us. And if you're a physician with a story you'd like to tell, please reach out to me at amanda@docworking.com to apply to be on the podcast. Thank you again, and we look forward to talking with you on the next episode of Docworking, the Whole Physician Podcast.